MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 276 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026. That's a lot of sixes going on. It's the Devil News Day. I'm Allison Gill.
What's up, AG? May the 6th be with you, I guess.
And also
what's up, y'all?
you.
Harry Dunn here. Okay, as always, nothing new here. We got tons to cover today, including an important update in the case where Donald Trump is suing his own administration for $10 billion. We remember that. And an appeals court has refused to rehear Trump's challenge of Eugene Carroll's verdict of $83 million.
Oh, a bummer for him. Oh, that's too bad. Plus, an interesting ruling by Judge Beryl Howell. She's denied a motion for a member of the Proud Boys to get a refund on the restitution he paid for his role in the attack on the Capitol January 6th. And it's weird because we know some judges have granted that refund. She hasn't, and we'll talk about why. And Rudy, we have an update on Rudy Giuliani. He's apparently in a Florida hospital in critical but stable condition. I don't know how those two things can coexist, but he's in the hospital, and then we all decide what to have for lunch. But we'll get to all of it. But first, we need to thank a couple of new patrons. Thanks to Nathan Schmidt, Claudia Nelson, and Minnesotan AF. I love this.
We know what that means. The AF means.
Yeah.
It means almost Friday.
It means, yes, Minnesotan almost Friday. So thanks to those new patrons. And patrons, keep an eye on your inbox. We're going to be sending out info on when and how you can get free tickets to a fundraising event next Tuesday, May the 12th in Los Angeles at the El Rey Theater. It's for Blue Wave California, so we can focus on holding certain seats and flipping certain seats to California House races so we can, get the House back. And this lineup is amazing. We have Andy Richter, John Fugelsang, Jean Smart, Queen Jean Smart is going to be there. Dana Goldberg and I are going to be there on stage live. Plus Lisa Loeb, Rufus Wainwright, and more. So check your inbox for info on how to get free tickets to this event. There's going to be a very limited number, and it's only for our patrons. But if you want to buy and donate, because if all the money from ticket sales goes toward these 4 seats that we need. These are the closest ones in California after Prop 50.
Yeah.
And you can buy those tickets at bluewavecalifornia.org/concert. And if you want to see if you can get a free ticket, you can become a patron and support our work also at patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD.
We got to win all those races, all those close races that
we got to win them. We got 2 we're defending.
I was going to say, it's not enough to just, redraw the maps, but now we got to actually win the seats. So good job on step 1. And now step 2 is winning those seats. So this is an important event. And if you're out there in the California area, make sure you go. This will be great.
Yeah, thank you. And these are super close races. The last time the Democrat won one of these seats by 147 votes. The other one won the seat by fewer than 1,000 votes. Yeah. And we're trying to hold those seats, and they're still going to be very close even after Prop 50. And the other 2 are close ones that we can flip. So we want to focus our money on races that can make a difference, and that's what this is about. Plus, you get to hang out with a whole bunch of like-minded people and sing.
That lineup is awesome, AG. Wow, that's some great people there.
And sing "Stay" by Lisa Loeb at the top of your lungs with a bunch of Democrats. I mean, who could ask for anything more on a Tuesday night?
Great lineup. I wish I could be there.
Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, Dana and I are going to be there together on stage. So, Harry, remember when we covered the Department of Justice motion to vacate the Oath Keepers charges?
Yeah.
And I talked about how they should appoint a third-party amicus, because when the government and the defendants are on the same side, the court might not have jurisdiction because there's no adversarial argument. And they did that in Flynn's case back in the day when Trump's Department of Justice and Flynn were both for dismissing Flynn's case. And at that time, the judge appointed a guy named John Gleason, a retired judge, to step in as an adversary and write an amicus brief. And he wrote this thing up, and he advised the judge not to dismiss the case against Michael Flynn. So that forced Trump to pardon Flynn to get out of it. That's how that case ended up being dismissed. And I said on this show, you'll remember, I told you, keep your eyes out for the judge in that Oath Keepers case to say something about there having to be an adversarial component to our judicial system. Well, we haven't got an update on that, but it did happen this week in the case where Trump is suing his own administration, namely the IRS, for $10 billion.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point because, like, who's the adversary here? You know, we got two people wanting to. Yeah, so I'm glad this is happening there.
Two people want to do the same illegal bullshit.
Exactly. Now, this story comes from Bloomberg. A federal judge overseeing presidential Donald Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS is seeking outside counsel from major firms on whether the court can rule in this case. Judge Kathleen Williams of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida is asking 3 law firms to assist the court on deciding whether it has jurisdiction, according to a Wednesday filing. Williams, an Obama appointee, has said it's unclear whether the parties are sufficiently adverse to each other for the courts to have subject matter jurisdiction.
What? Those words sound familiar. What? I'm making my own little song up here. Now, the lawyers, which have until May 21st to address the court on this issue, the amici to file their amicus brief, these lawyers include John Gleeson.
Yeah.
That's who wrote the Mike Flynn amicus. John Gleeson and David O'Neill of Debevoise and Plimpton LLP, Donald Verrilli Jr. of Munger Tallis and Olson LLP, and Faith Gay, Philippe Selendi, and Corey Stoughton of Selendi Gay PLLC. Gleeson was a New York federal judge appointed by Bill Clinton, and Verrilli served as a solicitor general under Obama. Trump and his sons, Don Jr. and Eric, and the Trump Organization are suing the IRS and the Treasury Department for at least $10 billion over the data breach that resulted in multiple news reports detailing Trump and other wealthy Americans' tax returns. Now, see, if you didn't have shitty tax returns, you wouldn't be mad and you wouldn't need to file this shit.
Exactly. So Trump and his crotch fruit, as AG likes to refer to. Now, this suit puts the Justice Department, which represents the IRS, in a complicated position since the president oversees the government. Former Booz Allen Hamilton contractor Charles Littlejohn is serving a 5-year prison sentence for the data breach. The Trump Organization tried to intervene in Littlejohn's appeal for a lighter sentence, but a judge in December deferred allowing the motion. Booz Allen is facing multiple lawsuits because of the leak.
Yeah, so I think that this is pretty fascinating. Not only that they've asked for an amicus because there's not enough adversarial involvement in order to grant subject matter jurisdiction. Exactly what happened in Flynn's case, what I think is also happening in the Oath Keepers case, but now they're doing it here. And not only that one of the people asked for an amicus brief on this is Judge Gleeson, the same amicus in the Flynn situation. It reminds me of, every single time we needed a special master in something or somebody like to oversee the finances of the Trump Organization. Is Trump's business the Trump Organization or the Trump Corporation? Whatever it is.
I think whatever.
Trump Foundation was the charity. Trump Organization is that the person who's always seems to be appointed, whether it's Michael Cohen's special master, whether it's Rudy Giuliani's special master, whether it was the special master in charge of finances after the fraud case brought by Letitia James, it was always retired Judge Barbara Jones. It was always the same
person. But Gleason's name keeps popping up again and again, so might be onto something, right? With these special masters
I wonder if Barbara Jones and John Gleeson hang out and talk about how they're always picked for this kind of stuff. But again, we don't have any updates on the motion to vacate Oath Keepers. This, again, is the $10 billion suit. I checked the docket this morning. We record this show on Monday, and I still haven't seen anything yet in that case, Stuart Rhodes et al. It's Judge Amit Mehta who oversaw the Oath Keepers case. And you'll recall way back in the day, Trump's lackey, who was the DC U.S. attorney for most of 2021, reason being is because the seditionists in Congress were blocking Biden's nominations for U.S. attorneys, and we didn't get a DC U.S. attorney until like November of 2021. It took almost a year because get this, the senators were like, until Merrick Garland, until you start treating the George Floyd protesters like you're treating the January 6th peaceful protesters, we're going to block every single U.S. attorney nominee and every single DOJ nominee. And that's why it took so long to get everybody into place, further delaying the investigations into Donald Trump on January 6th. But, you know, you'll remember back then that the guy, Trump's guy, who was at the DC U.S. Attorney's Office named Mike Sherwin, went on 60 Minutes and told the world that he was looking at seditious conspiracy charges for Stuart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers. And that prompted Judge Mehta to call all the parties into court and say, could you shut up? Shut up.
Yeah, WTF, dude.
You're threatening the integrity of this case by going out and saying those things, trying this in the court of public opinion before it gets a shot before a jury. And then at that time, Merrick Garland actually put Mike Sherwin under investigation. And at that point, a few months later, Sherwin resigned before he could get sanctioned or get in trouble by Merrick Garland. So that was Merrick Garland trying to chase out one of the people that could make things very difficult for prosecuting the leaders of what happened on January 6th. The suits, not just the boots, right? So that's a long history with Judge Mehta on this, and I'm interested to see if the appeals court, where the DOJ asked for the vacator, gives it back to Mehta and what Mehta has to say about it, and we'll obviously keep you posted about it.
I wish really that a hotline. I wish that a hotline we could just call and say, you know, our opinion on it, because Jesus, it needs to happen. It absolutely has to happen, because this is what they want. They want to be able to fly in these motions to do X, Y, and Z, all to benefit Donald Trump. It's just bad when the criminals and the prosecutors are best friends, I guess.
Yeah.
The lawyers for America and the criminals are best friends, and we can't have that, you know?
And I'm really hoping that that Judge Mehta does the same thing and says, I don't have subject matter jurisdiction without an adversarial point of view. Hey, Gleason, you free?
Hey,
I gotta write this other one
I know you've done this before. Can we borrow you for a second? You know?
Yeah, but that might actually force Donald Trump to do what he had to do in the Mike Flynn thing, which is, if you want to do this, you're going to have to pardon him yourself.
Yep.
So we'll keep an eye on it.
Yep.
All right, we've got more coming up after the break, a story that flew under the radar. It's that Judge Beryl Howell ruling that one of the Proud Boys cannot get a refund on his restitution. We'll talk about it after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. DeleteMe makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. As someone with an active online presence, to say the least, privacy is really important to me. It's not just about avoiding spam or phishing or cutting down on random junk emails. It's about protecting real parts of your life. It's easier than ever to find personal information about people on the internet, and that information can have real world consequences. When your address and your phone number and the names of family members are floating around online, it makes people vulnerable in ways that are hard to ignore. And I think a lot about it, because it's not just marketers or data brokers looking into this information anymore. More and more, online partisans and other bad actors are using it to target political rivals, civil servants, small business owners, and regular people who are outspoken online. Doxing is not just an internet nuisance. It can become a real safety issue very quickly. And that is one reason DeleteMe stands out to me. It helps protect your personal privacy, or the privacy of your business, from doxing attacks before sensitive information can be exploited. I also know how fast things can spiral when information gets into the wrong hands. Even if you have never personally dealt with identity theft or harassment, stalking, or doxing, there's a good chance you know someone who has. I do, and once you see how disruptive it can be, privacy stops feeling optional. DeleteMe can help you take back some of that control of your information that is used against you. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe. Now at a special discount for listeners, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/cleanup and use promo code cleanup, all one word, at checkout. Again, the only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/cleanup and enter code cleanup at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/cleanup, code cleanup.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Okay, let's get into another story. This story right here flew under the radar this week because obviously with so much going on. But it has to do with all the January 6th defendants trying to get back the restitution they paid for their convictions. All right, now let's look back in time a little bit to last August so we can give you a little bit of background in this story. Politico reported last August that U.S. District Judge John Bates approved the return of the $2,000 in restitution paid by Yvonne St. Cyr, concluding that because she had appealed her conviction and the appeal was still pending when Trump's pardon ended her case altogether, she was no longer guilty in the eyes of the law and that she was entitled to the return of her funds. She was also refunded a separate $270 penalty applied to her after her sanctioning. Sometimes a judge is called upon to do what the law requires, even if it may seem at odds with what justice or one's initial instincts might warrant. Bates, a George W. Bush appointee, wrote, "This is one such occasion."
Yeah, all right. So now it's Judge Bates. He didn't want to do it, but he said he had to under the law. Congress should look at that law again. That was St. Cyr. And notice that the judge ruled the way he did because St. Cyr had appealed her case, and that appeal was still pending when she was pardoned. Then we have reporting from last December. District Judge James Boasberg ordered 2 January 6 defendants pardoned by Trump to be refunded in full for restitution payments made and fines incurred as part of their criminal cases. It was a reversal from months earlier when Boasberg, rejected their bid for repayment. Boasberg used a memo order to outline the fairly complex case history for Cynthia Ballinger and her husband, Christopher Price, both of whom had been tried and convicted on misdemeanor charges in connection with January 6th, and they were ordered to pay hundreds of dollars in assessment fees and restitution.
Yeah, both defendants, Ballinger and Price, had been in the process of appealing their convictions when Donald Trump took office for the second time earlier that year and issued a sweeping pardon for roughly the 1,500, terrorists, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them. But the court calls them January 6th defendants. So both of them also had pending appeals when they were pardoned. That brings us to this week's news. Judge Beryl Howell denied Proud Boys member Nicholas Oakes' motion to get a refund. The case about whether these pardoned defendants who had pending appeals are able to get refunds is still pending, and of course, it's stuck in appeals court.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about why Judge Howell rejected this Proud Boys motion to get a refund when those other 2 judges granted 3 of them. Now, in her ruling, she writes, no matter Oakes' motivation for his criminal conduct, the cost to the American taxpayer from the attack on the Capitol, those costs were substantial. As of July 7th, 2023, the estimated damages to the Capitol building and the grounds and for certain costs to the U.S. Capitol Police was estimated by the government to be just under $3 million. Set against these significant damages costs due to the Capitol attack, and as part of Oakes' felony conviction, he was ordered to pay a $5,000 criminal fine, $2,000 in restitution, and a $100 assessment.
Yeah, I like to put this in, context for just people in just simple layman's terms. So just under $3 million for damages to the Capitol on January 6th. And with people getting their restitution returned, who has to pay for the damages to the Capitol? You listening in South Dakota, you listening in California, you listening in New York, Vermont, Colorado, you have to do it. You are paying to pay for the repairs to the Capitol. Just it's stupid, right? It's beyond stupid. It's just angering. But just to put it in plain terms, that's what's happening right now. She goes on to say Oakes, whatever their name is, pleaded guilty on September 9, 2022 to a count 2 of a 6-count superseding indictment for obstruction of an official proceeding in violation with 18 U.S. Code 1512 C2 and waived his rights to appeal except in limited circumstances. At the subsequent sentencing hearing on December 9, 2022, the government recommended that Oakes be sentenced to a term of imprisonment of 51 months and that he be ordered to pay a fine of $14,329, equivalent to the amount raised in the Oakes Family Fund online campaign, plus restitution of $2,000 and a $100 special assessment.
She goes on to say, through the online campaign during the pendency of his criminal case, Oakes raised over $14,000 for himself, claiming that, quote, he's being selectively prosecuted for being a political dissident, and denying that, quote, it was his conduct, not his views, that resulted in his felony conviction, even though he pled guilty. He was sentenced below the government's recommendation to a 48-month term. They asked for 51. He got 48 months. And ordered to pay a special assessment of $100, restitution of $2,000 to the architect of the Capitol, and a criminal fine of $5,000. Now, following his sentencing, in the period between March 9 of 2023 and October 9 of 2024, Oakes paid a total of only $1,569.93 towards his financial obligations. The first $100 was apportioned to the special assessment and was immediately deposited into the Crime Victims Fund. That's an account within the United States Treasury, as required by law.
Just trying to be, I guess, fair, or, unbiased in this, you notice that this individual was fined $2,000 for restitution to the architect and a criminal fine of $5,000. I think that the criminal fine should never go, the criminal fine should be the one refunded, if anything, but the restitution should always stand. So whether it was criminal or not, we all know that it was. So, maybe just trying to split the baby, but under no circumstances should the taxpayers have to pay for that damage when they absolutely caused it. So, this is just me trying to be, political, I guess, and fair instead of just an angry, pissed off victim from that day. But I go on. In June 2024, the Supreme Court decided Fisher v. United States 603 U.S. 480, which narrowed application of 18 U.S. Code 1512, subsection 2, blah, 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 all the, subsequent.
Yeah, so that was when the obstructing an official proceeding, when the Supreme Court came in and said it would have to be done with documents. They narrowed it.
Yeah. In light of this decision, Oakes filed a habeas petition pursuant to 28 U.S. Code, subsection 2255, to vacate his conviction, which petition was granted over the government opposition. On January 15th, 2025, the government filed a second superseding indictment charging Oakes with 8 counts. Exactly. Like, all right, watch this.
So this was when Merrick Garland, this is right, the tail end. This was January 15th, 2025. It's 5 days before Trump took office.
Yep.
When this judge threw out, because of what the Supreme Court did in Fisher, he only pled guilty to the obstructing an official proceeding charge. So Merrick Garland was like, all right, well, we'll bring back all the other old charges.
All the other ones. He's like, all right, okay, watch this. Boom, 8 counts, including 6 felony charges. Conspiracy to prevent an officer from discharging their duties, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers using a deadly and dangerous weapon, civil disorder, and aiding and abetting, destruction of government property, theft of government property, restricted building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct. There's so many just stuff that goes on, deadly, dangerous weapons, and acts of physical violence within the grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon. So this guy was deadly and dangerous weapon carrying asshole, I guess. Can I say?
He pled guilty to obstructing an official proceeding. This Supreme Court narrowed and kind of gutted that statute, 1512C2. And so Merrick Garland's like, fine, here's all your other charges. And only days before Oakes was scheduled to be arraigned on all those new criminal charges, the government moved on January 21st, 2025, under Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure to dismiss the indictment with prejudice. The next day, this court granted the government's motion to dismiss all those charges without prejudice, not with, finding that dismissal with prejudice would be improper due to the defendant's own admissions of criminal conduct, including throwing smoke bombs at law enforcement officers who were trying valiantly to prevent rioters from entering the Capitol building, which provides ample basis for criminal prosecution.
Yeah, Ox now, without any opposition or any filing from the government, requests that the court order the government and or clerk of the court to refund his payments of $1,400 in restitution, fines, and special assessments. Although Ox's conviction, I've said his name a bunch of different ways, Oakes, Ox, whatever, he doesn't, yeah. His conviction was vacated, but stayed following a successful collateral attack, and his conduct only later insulated from a subsequent prosecution by presidential pardon. This court's clerk's office reports that the funds were deposited in the U.S. Treasury, and so they remain subject to the limitation created by the appropriations clause and articulated in note. We talked about that a lot, AG. When the money, it's already there. We don't have it. It's in the Treasury.
Yep, that's note, KNOTE. That's the precedent that says once it goes into the Treasury, the Congress has to do something about it. She goes on to say Oakes, who waived all direct appeal rights as part of his plea agreement, had no appeal pending at the time of his conviction, or the time his conviction was vacated, with vacatur order stayed, and he received a pardon. Accordingly, neither 31 U.S. Code 1322 or the Judgment Fund Act of 1304A, neither provide a federal statutory basis for an order to return the Oakes, to return any funds deposited in the U.S. Treasury. She also cites St. Cyr, Ballinger, and Price and says they're different because they had appeals pending when they were pardoned. He did not. Oakes fails to marshal either a constitutional or statutory basis that would permit this court to disperse funds from the Treasury to pay him the reimbursement he seeks. So accordingly, his motion for return of restitution, criminal fines, and fees is denied.
Denied.
And this doesn't happen very often because a lot of these a-holes had appeals pending, right?
Yeah.
Now that again is being decided by the appeals court right now.
Yeah.
Because Boasberg was like, he said at first, no, I can't return these because they're in the Treasury. But then he said, oh yeah, the law says, you're right. The law says if you have a pending appeal, I got to give you this money back, but I don't want to. So I'm going to actually kick this up to the appeals court to find out how that ruling goes. And we'll keep an eye on that ruling for you. But that's where all of this stands right now. But at least we've got a little bit of justice in that this one guy who didn't have an appeal pending, this Proud Boy, a president of the Hawaii chapter, by the way, not just, he was one of the elders of the Proud Boys or whatever.
The town elder.
Right. One of the grand assholes of the organization.
Sounds about right.
So at least he doesn't get his money back. I'm sure he'll appeal. Again, we'll follow this case as well as the other case that's on appeal for Ballinger and Price in the Boasberg sitch. All right, everybody, we've got more news to get to, including some good news about E. Jean Carroll, how Donald Trump just can't seem to win against E. Jean Carroll.
So much losing.
I think this is like 7 times he's been shut down and denied. We'll talk about it after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Next story up from NBC News. A federal appeals court Wednesday shot down President Donald Trump's request to rehear his appeal of the $83 million defamation case brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. In a split vote, a majority of the 12-member Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, that's the New York, right, denied Trump's motion for a hearing by the full bench en banc of judges. They said, nope, we're not even going to rehear your bullshit. The decision does open the way for Trump to ask the Supreme Court to hear his argument on presidential immunity, saying he's immune from this. I think his argument, Harry, is that when he defamed E. Jean Carroll, he was president and it was part of his job. I don't know how well that's going to go, but now that the appeals court has exhausted its jurisdiction, it can now go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear this dumb legal theory that he got. Like you said, I'm president. I can defame anybody. I'm the president. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A federal jury decided in 2024 that Trump did defame Carroll when he disputed her accusations that he sexually abused her in a dressing room in the 1990s. A 3-judge panel of the Second Circuit first rejected an appeal from Trump based on presidential immunity in September.
Right. So the Second
Circuit
Circuit,
lost that one before.
Right. He appealed to the Second Circuit and they said no. A 3-judge panel said no. He applied to rehear it en banc, and that's what this is. They just said no. Now, in his second appeal, Trump's lawyers sought to replace the defendant with the United States and make another claim of presidential immunity, which the appeals court dismissed that this week, Wednesday. The fact of the matter is, no other defendant would be permitted to move to substitute the United States in his place 15 months after trial and the entry of judgment against him. That's what Judge Denny Chin wrote in a 34-page statement supporting the court's decision to not hear his junk. Quote, the court appropriately declined to convene en banc to revisit the issue. Now, Trump's legal team said in a statement it would appeal the decision, calling it liberal lawfare. Okay.
Of course.
Quote, the American people stand with President Trump in demanding an immediate end to the unlawful, radical weaponization of our justice. No, we don't stand with this. Of our justice system and a swift dismissal of all the witch hunts including the illegal Democrat-funded travesty from the Carroll hoaxes, the defense of which the Attorney General has determined is legally required to be taken over by the Department of Justice because Carroll based her false claims on the president's official acts. That's a spokesperson for Trump's legal team. Now, you got to remember, he didn't just defame her when he was president. He defamed her multiple times after he was president, when Joe Biden was president. And so this, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere.
And he damn sure sexually assaulted her when he wasn't president either. So Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, celebrated the court's denial of an en banc hearing in a statement. E. Jean Carroll's eager for this case, originally filed in 2019, to be over so that she can finally obtain justice, Kaplan wrote. The minority argued in favor of hearing Trump's challenges for a second time, writing that the case represents a significant legal development. Really?
No.
I would rehear the case en banc to bring our case law about the scope of the presidential duties and immunity in conformity with the decisions of the Supreme Court, and to resolve these questions with the exceptional importance in line with the constitutional separation of powers and normal judicial practice, Judge Stephen J. Mintzer wrote in a 54-page dissenting opinion. 54 pages.
You know what I called that on the Daily Beans?
What was it?
Whiny crybaby bitch. That
sounds a lot like that. I'm with you on that one.
I would rehear it because of the scope of the case law, conformity, the Supreme Court to resolve these questions of exceptional. They've been resolved. Stop it. Now, Judge Chin said the dissent mischaracterizes Trump's conduct as merely responding to an accusation that Carroll published that should be expected considering the content of Carroll's claims against him. He says, the record showed that Trump made multiple statements over many years accusing Carroll of lying for political and financial gain and suggesting that Carroll was too unattractive for Trump to have sexually assaulted her. That's what the judge wrote in the correct opinion. Now, Trump filed an appeal to the Supreme Court in November in a second case. That's the $5 million E. Jean 2 case that Carroll brought against him, focused on comments he made about her after his first term ended, as well as on the alleged assault itself. The move came after a federal appeals court tossed out Trump's appeal in that lawsuit in June.
Yeah, Carroll was able to include the allegations of assault in that second lawsuit, which won her an additional $5 million in damages through a New York law that opened a one-year window for adult victims of sexual offenses to file civil suits, even if the statute of limitations on their claims had expired. It's a pretty good law there. Trump first called Carroll a liar in 2019 after she publicly claimed that he sexually abused her in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room in 1996. He said Carroll made it up. She made up the story to draw more sales for her upcoming book and called the claims a hoax and a con job. This guy. Trump has repeatedly denied the claims in both lawsuits and any wrongdoing.
It's worth repeating here that in both cases, defamation was proven. If Trump had proof that these claims from E. Jean were a hoax and a con job, the time to have brought up that proof would have been during the defamation trial. Yeah. He had nothing. That's why when he sues people for defamation, he drops the case before depositions can happen and discovery can happen.
Yep.
Because
he's the one that drops it. We got to always make sure that he drops it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unless what's happening with the Treasury or the IRS, unless you got your own lawyers, your guys, the defendant and the prosecutors and the suee and the suer are all on the same side here. So
yeah, when there's no adversary. What is it going with our old adversary?
Old adversary there.
Adversary. That's what he says.
Adversary.
That's what he says.
There you go. I knew what you were getting at, but I couldn't remember it.
Certainly me an adversary, old chap. All right. Mm-hmm. What was that? Hunt for Red October?
I think so.
Adversary.
That's a good pull, though. That's an adversary, old chap.
I would just be quoting Sean Connery in all of my filings about adversarial subject matter jurisdiction from here on out.
Oh, man.
Anyway,
this could do a whole segment of that.
We could. We certainly could. All right, everybody, we've got one more story for you. We have an update on Rudy, but we have to take a quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody, welcome back. And now we got like our favorite section of the show, what used to be frequently Rudy news. Rudy. All right, now this is from the Times. Rudolph W. Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, was still in critical condition as he recovered from pneumonia in a Florida hospital on Monday, his spokesperson said on Monday. Spokesperson Ted Goodman said that the lung infection had overwhelmed Mr. Giuliani and that he had required a ventilator to breathe. But as of Monday, Mr. Goodman said Mr. Giuliani was breathing on his own with his family and primary medical provider at his side.
All right. So they intubated him and then what's the opposite of intubate? Detubated him?
Detubated.
Mayor Giuliani, quote, is the ultimate fighter. And he's demonstrated throughout his life, and he's winning this battle. That's what Mr. Goodman said in a statement, adding, please keep the prayers coming. So maybe he's winning this battle, but he lost pretty much every legal battle. On Sunday, Mr. Goodman announced that Mr. Giuliani was in a Florida hospital in critical condition, but didn't elaborate on the cause of the former mayor's symptoms. It's unclear when Mr. Giuliani was taken to the hospital, so we don't know how long he's been there.
He's been there, yeah, but it was just reported. Donald Trump, in a post on Truth Social on Sunday, called Mr. Giuliani a true warrior and the best mayor in the history of New York City by far. I think Mondani wants to take that title from him, even in the short time that he's been there. Trump goes on to say he used the occasion to, again, advance his false claim that the Democrats cheated in the 2020 election. They cheated on the elections, fabricated hundreds of stories, did anything possible to destroy our nation, and now look at Rudy. So sad, he wrote.
Oh, my God.
So that's what I think. When I look at Rudy, that's what I think. So sad.
Is he trying to say that the rigged 2020 election killed Rudy? Is killing Rudy Giuliani or whatever the fuck?
Oh my gosh, man! Maybe it's all that hair dye. I guess that'd be leaking down his face.
Oh man, dude, the best mayor in history of New York City by far. I am.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Giuliani has struggled with legal and financial problems in recent years. And in the summer of 2025, last summer, he was involved in a car crash. Remember that in New Hampshire? We never got the
We're
details.
still trying to get to the bottom of that, AG.
What the hell happened?
Something
in
happened.
which he suffered a fractured vertebrae. After that, Giuliani made at least one public appearance in a wheelchair. On Monday, Mr. Goodman, the spokesperson, said that Giuliani had been diagnosed with restrictive airway disease stemming from his proximity to Ground Zero in Manhattan on September 11th, 2001, and the condition made respiratory illnesses more threatening. Okay, I can actually believe that. They should have probably funded
burn pits,
first responders bills then,
and supported burn pits for veterans. You know, I think that's. I believe that's a valid. You know, yeah. I digress. It is unclear whether Mr. Giuliani has publicly mentioned such a diagnosis before. But the former mayor has noted that he was a frequent presence at Ground Zero, and in recent years, his lawyers have alluded to potential lung disease related to toxicity from the attacks.
All right. Okay. That makes a little more sense. He was actually...
I think that's a very valid... That is true.
He was at Ground Zero quite a bit. Anyway, Mr. Giuliani became mayor in 1994 after he defeated David Dinkins. Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor? You'd be doing us a really big favor. Man, this track sure has a lot of flavor. Okay.
Favor.
Can I kick it? He was running for a second term, Dinkins, but Giuliani beat him. He remained in office until December 2001 and helped lead the city in the aftermath of the September 11th terrorist attacks. Later, he became a personal lawyer to Donald Trump during the president's first term and quickly became embroiled in a number of investigations related to the presidency. And Rudy was a crucial part of the team that helped Mr. Trump advance the claim that he won the 2020 election, the false claim. After Trump left office, Giuliani was indicted several times and contended with a number of costly defamation lawsuits related to those efforts. He's now disbarred in both New York and D.C. and has kept a far lower profile during Mr. Trump's second term in office. Now, so that just goes to show how deadly and dangerous those kinds of respiratory illnesses can be whether you're a
Exposure,
first
toxin.
responder
Yep.
at ground zero, whether you're a veteran who was exposed to toxic burn pits in any number of the forever wars, Republican forever wars in the Middle East, something that the Republicans fought tooth and nail to provide health care for, both 9/11 first responders and the burn pits. So
Yeah.
anyway,
You know, when the news first broke about it, you texted me that because I hadn't heard about it. You shot me a text about Rudy being sick and like, all right. And you know what? I don't like to, you know, I don't find pleasure in celebrating when
illnesses,
even
right?
shitty people aren't doing well. You know, that's the kind of person I am. I'm not going to lose any sleep, however. But the only person that I immediately got thoughts and prayers for was Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman. Because of just the living hell that man knowingly made and continues to make the living hell that they're living because of him. So, you know, I don't celebrate in him being sick, but I'm not losing any sleep over it. And whatever. Like you said, what's for lunch?
Right. Yeah. You know, perhaps we would be a little more sympathetic had he not supported an administration or a party that was trying to take away benefits for people who are suffering the same problems.
Yep.
All right, everybody, that's it. No Pillow Man updates. Let me just Google to double check if there's Mike, because normally when you do Rudy, the Pillow Man is not far behind.
It's not far behind. But with regards, real quick though, to those burn pits, I remember when I was still a Capitol Police officer and seeing hundreds and hundreds of veterans out there. John Field, John Stewart, being out there just fighting for veterans to get the decency and just what seems to be common sense care that the veterans deserved. And, you know, every time we talk about exposure to toxins and stuff like that, if our first responders and our military are not top of the list priority to actually care for them, where the hell are we? Our moral compass is so turned around that we anybody that doesn't support that should immediately be removed from office, voted out.
And then when they finally were forced to vote for it, then Republicans bragged about doing it.
Yep.
The ones who had been blocking it for so long. And this is an issue that's close to my heart because my dad was exposed to Agent Orange during Vietnam and died at 46 years old due to complications from that exposure.
Yep.
So these kinds of things are serious business. And for the Republicans to continue to just block even the most basic health care for that. They didn't pass the Agent Orange Act until 1991, Harry.
Wow.
1991, a year after my father passed away.
1991.
That's how long Republicans pushed that off. But they're supposed to be the party of veterans and the military.
Yeah.
That's what blows me away. But, you know, also not. They're supposed to be the party of law and order. They aren't. They're supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility. They are not.
They always want to be the party of the something until it's actually time to be that. And then they're like, never mind.
They're the party
just kidding, guys.
They always try to be the party of the opposite of what they actually are. Because they know how politically unpopular the actual shit that they do. That's why Rachel Maddow says, watch what they do, not what they say. All right. We will be back in your ears next week. And then, of course, bonus episode for patrons this weekend. Patrons, again, keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be sending out a link to free tickets to the El Rey Theater Tuesday, May 12th, with me and Dana and Andy Richter and Gene Smart, and Amon Jordan is going to be there. And
alrighty.
Rufus Wainwright and Lisa Loeb. Like, it's just going to be a very, very cool night. So I look forward to seeing everybody out there. It's just the joy and the community of being in a room with like 500 amazing, like-minded people.
It's going to be incredible.
Again, all singing along to Stay by Lisa Loeb. It's going to be something. I'm telling you what.
That's right.
And that's not even going to be the highlight of the night. There's a lot of stuff that I can't tell you about that's going to be a surprise. So keep an eye on your inbox.
I can't wait.
Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. M SW Media.